It's amazing how the Haftorah always speaks to current events. It's amazing the Haftorah that we read yesterday, just yesterday. Amazing. God is speaking to the prophet Yirmiyahu. Now we know that the Gemara Megillah, which Daf Yomi is learning now, the Gemara Megillah tells us there were millions of Nevi'im. How come only 48 Nevi'im are recorded out of the millions? So the Gemara Megillah, Daf Yomi, tells us that those millions of Nevi'im, they only spoke for their time, and the Torah is not ancient history. We're not interested, we're not concerned with ancient history. So those millions are not recorded. The 48 Nevi'im that are recorded speak to what? To us today. Just amazing. People say we have no Nevi'im. Just open up Yirmiyahu, yesterday's reading, Yirmiyahu chapter 1, Pasuk 18. God tells him, "Ani hine nisaticha hayom li'ir miftzar u'la'amud barzel." Behold, God says, I have made you today a fortified city, an amud barzel. What does amud barzel mean? Iron dome. You hear this? I've made you amud, pillar or dome. I made you an iron pillar, an iron dome against the land. And they will make war against you, and they will not be able to defeat you. Because I am Hashem, am with you in order to rescue you. What an amazing prophecy. Yesterday's Haftorah, current events. God says, I am your Amud Barzel, I am your Iron Dome. They'll make war against you. They will not be able to defeat you because I, God, am there to rescue you. Yesterday's Haftorah, Yirmiyahu, chapter 1, verse 18 and 19. It's just amazing. They interviewed on CNN a senior Hamas leader. You can look it up on the internet. And CNN asked him, you shot over 1,000 rockets. How is it possible you only killed one person? 1,000 rockets? He says, their God of the Jews, the God of the Jews protects them. Wow. CNN, a Hamas leader, the God of the Jews protects them, and therefore 1,000 rockets, even one casualty is way too many. But the odds are just incredible. 1,000 rockets, and never one person was killed, not anymore. In Egypt, they shot a rocket into a supermarket. 10 people were killed with one rocket. So even Hamas realizes this Haftorah from yesterday. Yirmiyahu chapter 1, 18 and 19. God said, I am your iron dome. They'll make war against you, but they will not be able to defeat you because I, God, am with you in order to rescue you. Kawinky dinky that we read this Haftorah, Malka, when? Yesterday. Okay? The Haftorah always speaks to what? Current events. But this afternoon we'll be speaking about Marat Ayin. If you have a paper in front of you, I hope you get one. Just pass it back. Morris T. Ayin. Morris T. Ayin. Now why did I pick this topic? Because in the Parsha of the week, it speaks about Marat Ayin. If you take a look at your sheet, Moshe Rabbeinu tells the Bnei Gad and the Bnei Ruvain, you guys, your brothers are going to war and you want to remain what? Behind? How dare you? In Mechemet Mitzvah, there are no exceptions. So Bnei Gad and Bnei Ruvain, they said, no, we will go to war. So Moshe Rabbeinu tells them, thank you, shalom. Moshe tells them, Bamidbar Lamed Bet, you see that on top of the page? V'yitem nikiyim Hashem im Yisrael. You shall be clean. You shall be acquitted in the eyes of what? Hashem and in Israel. So the Talmud asks, it's not enough if God knows that I'm clean? You have to be clean in the eyes of Israel too. So here you learn out Marit Ayin. It's not enough that God knows you're innocent. But what? Human beings also have to know that you're above suspicion. So how do we remain above suspicion? So Yitem Nikiyim Hashem, Moshe speaking to the Bnei Gad, Bnei Ruvain, you shall be innocent in the eyes of God and also in the eyes of Israel. If you do the right thing and you join the IDF and you don't hide behind what? A wall of books. So look at the footnote, Torah Tamima, please. Torah Tamima, Yitem Nikiyim. I have it underlined, I think, in yellow. Yitem Nikiyim, the Torah Tamima. Torah Rabbanon. You have that in the footnote, Torah Tamima, V'yitem Nikiyim, it's underlined. Beit Garmu, Hoya Bikiyin B'masa Lechem Aponim. So Gemara in Yuma, this family of Kahanim called Garmu, they knew how to make the Lechem Aponim. The Lechem Aponim was very difficult. It was like a broken box. It was actually matzah. You know, the Lechem Aponim, Rabbi Yaakov, was matzah all year. Did you know that? Yes. The Mishnah says in Masechta Nochot that the Lechem Aponim was matzah. They made it like, not like the Ashkenazi matzah, but like the Yemenite matzah, which looks like a lafa. Looks like a lafa. It was a huge lafa, a broken lafa, and the walls didn't collapse. It was very difficult to make that. The base Garmu, these family of Kahanim, they knew how to bake the Lechem Aponim, the showbread. Uma'olam loy nimtza pat nikia biyad b'neihem. And never did they send out their children with what? With a delicious Danish in the street. Why? What's wrong with a Danish? Shelo yoimru, so people shouldn't say, what shouldn't they say? They took the Lechem Aponim. This is the secret ingredient that the Danish is so tasty, they must be stealing from the Lechem Aponim. They weren't. But God knows that they weren't stealing the Lechem Aponim. Not enough. L'kayim ha'shenema v'yitem nikiyim Hashem Yisrael. So they wanted to observe this verse, the verse of yesterday's parsha. You shall be innocent in the eyes of God, and also what? The eyes of the Jewish people as well. Nachon? Now, if you look at the footnote, please, where it says Ayin bebrachot. You see the footnote on the bottom of the page? There's an X there, and it's yellow. Ayin brachot. You got that? Sh'amra Chana. Remember, Chana HaNeviah was praying for a child, right? And Eli thought that she was drunk. Because up until her time, people daven Shmon Esrei Necham aloud. Chana introduced that you should daven Shmon Esrei silently. Just your lips should move. But Eli thought that she was drunk because until that time, everyone daven Shmon Esrei loud. And she began mumbling her lips with not saying the words loud. So Amra Chana Eli, Chana told Eli, Yayin v'shecha lo shetiti. Hey, sir, you made a mistake. I'm not a drunken woman. I am a broken-hearted woman, but not a drunken woman. So why did she have to tell him that? You can think what you want. God knows that I'm not a drunk, that I'm davening sincerely. You want to think? It's your business. No, Omer Rabbi Elazar, Mikan lenechshad bedavar she'ein bo shetzorech l'idiyah. From here you learn out. If someone accuses you, suspects you of doing something wrong, and you know you're innocent, do you walk away? No. Tzorech l'idiyah. You have to what? Let him know. Let me straighten you out about something, Mr. High Priest. I am not a shikor. I am a righteous woman. B'tzorech biur. Ma shoma mikan. V'lohu midah b'torah. So he asked, what does the Gemara have to prove from Chana that if someone accuses you falsely, you should let him know? It seems to be a pasuk in the Torah. You shall be innocent in the eyes of Israel. Midat b'Torah, v'yitanikim af kodem shenechshad. That you should be innocent before you're accused, and mikol shkein la'achar shenechshad. And certainly you should be what? After you're accused. So why do you have to go fishing to the book of Samuel to prove that you should what? Be above suspicion, where it seems to be what? A pasuk in the Torah. Be innocent, be above suspicion in the eyes of Israel as well. And if someone accuses you falsely, you have a business to what? Straighten them out. So why do you have to go to the book of Samuel? Seems to be a pasuk in the Torah. V'yesh lomar, d'im pasuk zeh, havi amin the rak eitzer tova. This pasuk alone, perhaps it's only good advice that Moshe is speaking to Bnei God. Maybe it's only good advice to Bnei God. Kamash milan mechana dechovi. So therefore, the rabbis learn out from the book of Samuel that it's not just good advice; it's actually a halacha that a person should be what? Above suspicion. Chana told us that, right? So from the book of Chana, that's like a rabbinic injunction. Chana taught us. From the pasuk in the Torah, perhaps it's only good advice. Take it or leave it. But Chana said, no, it's not good advice. You have an obligation to be above suspicion. If someone accuses you falsely, you can't say, who cares? It's your business to what? To straighten him out. As Chana told the high priest that I'm not what? Shikar, right? I'm not shikar, okay? What? No, you see, he misread. Good point, Nechama. The Urim V'Tumim, he asked the Urim V'Tumim, what's with this lady? So which letters lit up? Kaf, Shin, Resh, Hey. Which you should have read Ksherah. But he read it Shikora. You see, he had a bad hair day.
No, he had put the shin in front of
Right, he mixed it up. The letters light up, and it's up to the Kohen Gadol to put them together properly. The letters Shin, Kaf, Resh, Hey lit up. Which could be Shikora, but it could be Ksherah. Ksherah means a righteous woman. He misread it, Shirley, and he read it Shikora instead of what? That's a simon that was time for him to retire. It's time for him to go on a long vacation, yes?
It can be also Kesara.
Kisara, beautiful. Like Kisara, Kesara, Sarah. Like Mother Sarah. Kisara, beautiful. In Hebrew, a shin and a sin interchange. There are no dots in the Torah scroll. Shikoach. Kisara, she's righteous like Sarah Imenu. How dare you jumble the letters to read Shikora? Okay? So back in the Torah Tamima, you're supposed to what? You're supposed to have it done, Kafschus Chana. You know that you have to judge every person favorably, right? Give every person the benefit of the doubt. Eli did not give her the benefit of the doubt, and therefore he was about to retire. Hope he had an IRA, but God was about to retire him for this mistake, yes? That's a great question. Boy, you're cooking with gas. The Vilna Gaon asked you a question. Bueno, Mitsuyan, make my day. I'm prepared. She hit a home run. The Vilna Gaon asked her question. The Gemara in Yuma says that the Urim V'Tumim, can I ask it which stock to buy? Which hotel is a better vacation deal? Buy stocks on the what? Buy short or sell short. What's it called? No, the Urim Tumim Tirza only works if it's an issue that deals with the nation. A problem that affects the nation. What?
She didn't ask a question. She was standing there and dominating.
No, she didn't ask. Eli asked the Urim V'Tumim a question. Is this woman in front of me, what's with her? Is she on the ball or is she off the wall? Right? So the question is, the Urim Tumim only answers questions that deal with national issues. The Vilna Gaon asked your kasha, make my day.
So this is a representative issue. You see a woman that seemingly to you is talking to herself and seems a little drunk.
Yeah.
No,
How's that a national issue?
Because in the future, if you see somebody dominating like that, don't make a judgment.
Close but no cigar. It's close. Eli, what? You ladies are cooking with gas. Boy, I should step down. That's the answer. Eli was Yiddish Sharona. Eli, he had Ruach HaKodesh. If you didn't have Ruach HaKodesh, then you can't read it at all. He had Ruach HaKodesh that this woman is praying, or she somehow is involved in the salvation of the Jewish people. Is she worthy to be the carrier of the Savior of the Jewish people?
Is that what you're saying, Elliot?
That's what the Vilna Gaon is saying. Not, don't blame me. So therefore, he had a right to ask that question because Samuel was the Savior of the Jewish people. He was the last and greatest of the judges. He's the one that anointed Shaul and David. So he had this feeling that this woman's prayer, like Tirza said, wasn't a prayer for her own personal tzorot. Somehow it involved the salvation of the Jewish people. So therefore he had a right to what? To ask, is she worthy to be the instrument of saving the Jewish people? And the Urim Tumim said yes, but he misread it. So therefore he was fired. But that's the answer to your great question. Vilna Gaon gives that.
That makes it even more problematical because
Why?
asking that question, the Urim Tumim says yes.
No, Urim Tumim just said Kaf Shin Reishei. You could read it Kesara or you could read it Shekora. He misread it. That means that it was time for him to retire.
Wait a second, would the Urim Tumim have answered him if she wasn't kosher?
What? Yes. Is she kosher to be the savior of the Jewish people? But he didn't get a response, but he misread it.
That's what I'm saying.
How could he misread it? The answer is that it was time for him to retire. He was already over the hill. Otherwise, a Kohen wouldn't misread it, right? So that was a sign for him that he has to what? He has to step down, okay?
But she had been there before, so he should have recognized who she
Was she there before? Okay, she was there before, but I guess before she wasn't mumbling. Maybe she was davening Shemon Esrei loud, like people were doing up until that time, right?
Did she go every year with her husband?
She went up with him every year. That's right, right? It's just amazing talking about. It says, Liz, "Vatispalal Chana al Hashem."
What does that mean?
Now, if you read the English, you get mixed up. English says Chana prayed to God. The Hebrew doesn't say that, Nechama. The Hebrew says, Vatispalel Chana al Hashem. Al Hashem means for God. Say what? Well, El Al. Al Hashem means for God. So what does that mean? Al doesn't just mean above. It depends on the... Al could mean for, on behalf of God. Look at the text. You read it on Rosh Hashanah, right? It says Chana. The English doesn't translate it that way. Boo. You have to send an email to Art Scroll. But the Hebrew says, Vatispala Chana al Hashem. And Chaim Volozhin translates that she prayed on behalf of God. Now, what does that mean? What does that mean? She prayed on behalf of God. It says of Chaim Volozhin. There's a pasuk in Psalm 91. Imo onochi betzara. Where was God in Auschwitz? Well, Psalm 91 says he was in the gas chamber along with his beloved people. When a Jew suffers, God suffers along with him. Imo anochi betzara, Psalm 91. So Chana was saying, God, if I'm suffering and anguish, that means you are suffering too, because you suffer along with your people. When a child suffers, doesn't a parent suffer? When a parent spanks a child, what does he say? This is going to hurt me more than it hurts you. And how true it is. When you have to do tough love, the parent suffers more than the child, but it's necessary. So when God, Chas v'Sholom, has to do tough love with us, like hold back a child from Chana, he's suffering too. So Chana prayed on behalf of God. God, do us both a favor and give me a baby. Why do you want to suffer? And I should suffer. Isn't that amazing? So anyway, getting back to, so what? We pray for God's suffering. What? Hashem Tzavaot, yeah? She the one who introduced that. God of the universe. That's right. But anyway, Mrs. Ziegler, getting back to over here, our topic, look at the next, in the Torah Tamima. So he had the Beit Garmu. That their child never what? Look at footnote Hey in the bottom. Their child never what? Walked out with a delicious Danish. You see footnote Hey on the bottom? Ef Shalomar, Michiben Omar Haloshim Biyad B'neihem, Musav Alabonim Ktanim. Maybe, I'm reading the footnote Hey on the bottom there. See that? You need a magnifying glass. That means no one from that family can have a cheese Danish in the street. You can't go to cafe and have a cheese Danish. What do you mean? What do you mean? How far do you take this, Sharona? How far do you take this? So he says perhaps it's only speaking about abonim ktanim. The derech hakatanim lotzeis l'chutz upitam b'yadeihem. Because small children walk around with what? With Danishes and what? Outside. The yesh lachush b'pnei aroyim. Aval hagdolim, hey, but a grown-up Kohen who made the lechem upon him, in his own house, he's allowed to what? Eat it. As long as not the lechem upon him. I afapir de kaimelon kol mokem she'osu chachamim nipnei marad ayin afilu b'chad v'chadorim asur. Didn't we say when the rabbis assured marad ayin, how do you translate it in English? appearances count above suspicion, even in what? In chad vechadorim. Right? Ach kvar, what? No, above suspicion. Ach kvar kosaf harosh b'shabbat. Old poskim, the chlauze ein el issa d'oraita mamash. What does that mean? Hard to understand. Where do you draw the line? What? Is that halacha that you can't let, if you the family of that made the lechem upon him, they can't let their kids go out in the street with what? With a Danish? Many people eat Danishes. So he's saying, Rivka, that no, that this was a chumrah be'alma. You hear what he's saying over here? The rabbis praised them because they went liftim mishuras adin. This wasn't the din. They're not eating lechem upon him. People might think, how far do you carry this, you know? But they went what? Beyond the law, right? Above suspicion. Even if nobody is watching, you can't do something that might, people might think you're behaving suspiciously, even though nobody is watching. So who's watching? The rabbis make a gzeira, loy plug. Once they made a gzeira of Marit Ayin, they said, Afilu b'chad vechadorim. So what about Chana? Chana said, listen, you made a mistake, because there she was accused of being a drunk. So there she had an obligation to what? Speak up. But here no one is accusing them of eating the lechem upon him. Maybe you have a nice cheese Danish. Maybe that's only lifnim mishuras adin. If someone actually accuses you, like Chana was accused, Rabbi Yaakov, then you have an obligation to what? To speak up and defend yourself. But if no one's accusing you, then and you're not doing anything that looks illegal, there's not a problem. These guys were behaving what? Lifnim mishuras adin. They were not behaving suspiciously. They did lifnim mishuras adin, not allowing their children to go out with cheese Danishes. But that didn't contradict Marit Ayin. They were not doing anything suspicious, but they went what? Above the law. Yes?
Classic example of this.
Go ahead.
In America, there's a Traeger restaurant, and in the corridor right before the restaurant, beyond the entry door, is a public phone.
We're going to get there.
Yeah, so then
I'm going to get there.
make a phone call, someone can see you, and they'll think you're reading it.
Rav Moshe Feinstein deals with that. I'm going to get there, if we get a chance to get there. Let's go back in the text. Very good, sir. Back in the Torah to me. Yitem Nikiyim, Tani Rabbanon, Beit Aftinas, Hoy Bekim Ma'asek Torres. The family of Aftinas, the Kahanim, they knew how to what? To blend the incense. Ma'olam Layotza Kala, Usemet Biteyen, and never did a Kala from the house of Aftinas. She never went to the chuppah smelling of Chanel number 5. Why not? You should suspect that she's using what? The Ketores. Right? Now, this is again, Lifnim Mishuras Adin. She could have used Chanel number 5. She's not doing anything suspicious. Right? But they went again, Lifnim Mishuras Adin, that they what? Didn't allow any daughter of theirs, of this family that perfected the incense, that what? To put on what? Charlie. Chanel number 5. What's it called? Nina Ricci? Nina Ricci. Oh, Nina Ricci, whatever it's called. What? And any family that married into them had to agree. You see that? Any family that married into them, they made an agreement with her that she would not use what? Chanel. So people shouldn't say that she's being what? Perfumed with the Maaseh Ketoret. Now again, this is going beyond the letter of the law because she was not doing anything suspicious. Like Tirza said, to walk into a Traeger restaurant to make a phone call. There's a parasayim problem. But here she's not doing anything suspicious. She could use Chanel. You might think it's the Ketores. That's your problem. But again, the rabbis praised them because they went what? Lifnim Mishuras Adin. Okay, now, if you take a look at the next footnote, V'yitem Nikiyim, what?
What is it, Vav?
No, I'm reading the text. The Torah Tamima. V'yitem Nikiyim, the next one. HaTorah Metalishka, a person that was the Gabbai Tzedakah on the Beis HaMikdash, Nechama, Yiddish, he couldn't walk in with pockets on his robe. Maybe that's why they wore robes, no pockets. Look, ma, no pockets. The Gabbai Tzedakah in the temple who went to the Lishka to get the Machtas HaShekel was not allowed to what? Have pockets on his robes, and he couldn't wear shoes. And he couldn't wear tefillin. Because people might say, hey, what? He's hiding some of the money and he's lining his pockets. Get it? He's lining his pockets. Ooh. Maybe he put some dough in the shoes and the socks and even the tefillin. Maybe he opened up the tefillin and he what? Those days they wore tefillin all day. Maybe he stuck the booty what? From gold nuggets or the machzis a shekel what? In his tefillin. You hear this? At kedei kach. People will say that what? He became wealthy from what? From stealing from the machzis HaShekel. Wow. Kameya too. He can't wear what? What's a kameya? Like a luck charm. You might open it up and stick in the pendant.
So many rabbis today getting caught dafka with all of these...
With their hands in the cookie jar. Oh, listen. Their hands in the cookie jar. Maybe they skipped this. They must have skipped this. It's a tractate shkalim. Huh? Tractate Shkalim, pretty interesting, right? Wow. You should be clean in the eyes of God and in the eyes of Israel. So Gabbai Tzedakah, they couldn't even wear shoes or socks, not even tefillin, or not even a luck charm, because if he becomes poor, I forgot to tell you the rest of it, if he becomes poor, let's say the Gabbai, his stocks went down, people will say, it's a punishment for stealing from Tzedakah. And if he becomes rich, the Gabbai hits the jackpot, hey, he got rich because he's lining his pockets. So literally, the robes cannot have any pockets. Either way, you can't win for losing. Right? He gets poor, it's a punishment for stealing the machzah shekel. If he got rich, he's stealing the machzah shekel. Either way, you can't win. Look at the next one. Yisem Nikiyim, Shmuel bar Nachmani, Rabbi Yonatan. Torah Nevi'im Miksuv. I'm reading the next one, the last one, the Torah Tamima. It's a pasuk in Mishlei Gimel. So it's not just in the Torah, it's a pasuk in Mishlei Gimel, U'motza chen v'seichel tov, b'nei Elohim v'adam. See the last line on the Torah Tamimah? Underlined, Mishlei Gimel. You shall find grace in what? Wisdom in the eyes of God. It's not enough. And also what? Man as well. So you should be above suspicion, yes? To find something wrong with you. That's human nature. Even though the Mishnah says, have they done kal adam lekaf zchut? Yeah? You should judge every person favorably, but yet human nature is what? Myself, I'll judge favorably. The other guy, boo. Right?
Also, I have a question about the
What? Yeah, chad vechadorim. Go ahead.
married Ayin means an eye has to see,
Morris T. Ayin.
right?
Remember him? Morris T. Ayin? Yeah.
Somebody has to see.
Right. So how come Philip Echad?
In order to suspect you of something.
Right. So why?
If you're alone, I mean, I don't maybe there are a lot of mirrors.
So the Talmud says loy plug. What does loy plug mean? Once the rabbis make a gzeira, doctor, loy plug. They don't differentiate. Even b'chad v'chadorim, afil b'chad v'chadorim asur. Okay? But we see it's not so simple. As Tirza mentioned, there are ways what? It's not so simple, and I'll tell you an amazing, I didn't copy it for you, I'll read it to you. This is from the Shalos of Tshuvas Igros Moshe. Moshe finds his Zecher Tzadik Levracha. Listen to this, I'll read it to you, it's just amazing. What kind of tzaddik? He lived on FDR Drive in the Lower East Side, right? Remember FDR, that's where you lived, right? So after Hadlokas Haneros, you still have 18 minutes in New York to do malacha, right? In Jerusalem you have about 40 minutes, right? The rest of Israel you have 20 minutes. But in New York you have 18 minutes after you light the candles. So this one lady lit the candles Friday night, Malka, and she freaked out. She lit the candles, she saw the Moshe Feinstein, the Manig Israel, being driven by car to a shul after she lit the candles. Because in her eyes, when you lit the candles, what happened? It's Shabbos. It's Shabbos, and the greatest rabbi in the world, he's what? Mechala Shabbos. So after Shabbos, he calls her up. You hear this? She calls him. She lived in the same building. She said, Rebbe, how can you be Mechala Shabbos? So you could say, lady, you're questioning me, you Amoretz, goodbye. He answered her, he immortalized her, Sharona, by writing her in a tshuva. In Orech Chaim, Chelik Aleph, Siman Tzadik Vav. You hear? He immortalized her. He put her shaila in his shailas and tshuvis, and he called like this, a person that's driven bakar. He writes bakar. Maze bakar. Achrat lokat nerot, to shul, a few minuten, kame minuten before the 18 minutes are up. Im ze yesh chashash isur. Is it forbidden? Marat Ayin. Am I doing wrong? He's asking himself. The old lady accused him of what? What? 1 minute. So he said, I'm so happy that you wrote him, that you phoned me, and I'm upset. I accept your teichacha. In chas v'sholem, I'm not makpid on you. You hear this great tzaddik? Another one would have said, you are questioning me.
Who said that?
Rav Moshe Feinstein did this anonymous old Alte Yidina in FDR Drive. I'm not, what? Chas v'sholem, I'm not makpid on you. I appreciate your question. And look what he says, Im yirtz Hashem b'li neder, I will no longer drive in a car after you light candles. You hear this great tzaddik? You could look it up. Igros Moshe Orech Chaim Chelik Aleph Siman Tzadik Vav. This Alte Yidina gives the greatest rabbi in the world Musar, and he says, it upsets you, I won't do it anymore, even though there's nothing wrong with my behavior. And he goes on to write a whole tshuva why this is not Marasayan. Okay? But since it upsets you, I won't do it anymore, even though it's not Marasayan and it's not even Chashash Maratayan. The question is, why not? So he says as this, Ki Yoda Yedidi. He calls her Yedidi. What? My sweet one. There is my sweet one. I hope his wife wasn't listening when he wrote the tshuva. Yedidi, my friend, right? There is some Marit Ayin, Rak B'davar, Shenase Zeh B'roif Pomim B'oifen Isser. Maris Ayin is only a matter which many times it could have been something forbidden, and you are doing it in Oifen HaMutar, then it's Maris Ayin. He'll give an example. Mix it up. Marasayin is only in a matter which many times it's mamish and iser, but you're doing it ba'oifen heter, but many times it could be an iser, even though you're doing it by the heter of Yaakov. That's called Marasayin. Kigon. For instance, lasois ayidei akum b'kablanut malacha zu shahar ba'oisim shu oifen iser. What does that mean? Kablanut on Shabbos. You have a worker working on Shabbos, right? So even though what? Right? The guy is allowed. It's Marasayin because people will think maybe you hired him on Shabbos. Even though you hired him on Wednesday. Why can't he work for you on Shabbos? Because people will say that what? That you hired him on Shabbos. Right? So that's Marasayin. Because maybe I didn't hire him on Wednesday. Maybe I hired him on Shabbos, which is forbidden. Aval lasais dova heter mefursam. But to do a matter which is what? 100% publicly mutar. Like what? After lighting candles, you still have 18 minutes. Now, the woman who lights candles, unless she says, I'm not accepting Shabbos. She lights candles and she wants to take a taxi to the hotel. Wait, not so simple, Mikimia. If she says verbally, I am not accepting Shabbos, I'm lighting candles, but she has to say verbally, I'm lighting candles, but I'm not accepting Shabbos. If she says that verbally, she can take a taxi to the hotel. If she doesn't say anything, then she can't. But the husband or another guy doesn't have to say anything. He still has 18 minutes, right? He didn't like the candles. So that's a dova hete mefursam, that it's not called Maris Ayin. Many people think that it's Maris Ayin. Like this lady, she thinks that it's Maris Ayin. No, it's not usher. Because I didn't do anything wrong. Hiring a worker that's working on Shabbos, even though I hired him on Wednesday, not on Shabbos, people will say you hired him on Wednesday. So that looks like something forbidden. But driving in a car after Lokos and area, I didn't like the candles. I still have 18 minutes. That's 100% mutar. Even though people make a mistake and think that it's usher, yes?
Shiloh,
What?
Shiloh.
Go ahead.
Woman lights candles,
Yeah.
make it time.
Then she cannot go to the kotel.
Listen,
But the husband can.
wait a second. And she walks out of her apartment with her husband,
Yeah.
goes into the elevator. He presses the elevator. And can she go into
No.
the elevator?
No, unless she verbally said that I am not accepting Shabbos. She cannot go in the elevator with him, no.
Even though he's not
Because by lighting candles and not saying anything, shtika kaheda, she accepted Shabbos unless she verbally said no. But hubby, he still has 18 minutes.
My question is based on the premise that let's say there's a Shabbos elevator in the building.
Right. No,
And technically she could go into that Shabbos elevator after she
right. But the husband cannot do malacha for her. No. No.
He chooses the regular elevator, not the Shabbos elevator. He presses a button.
No, so if I take in Shabbos early, let's say I take in Shabbos early.
It's the same operating feature.
She accepted Shabbos on herself. So can't
They walk
do
out
malacha for her.
He picks the elevator that's not on the Shabbos phone.
I don't think so. I don't think so. I don't think so. I don't think so. Right? You take Shabbos early. Can a guy
So a friend of mine,
can push the button for you? You can't.
I can get in the elevator.
And he pushes the button for you? I don't think so.
No, he's going up himself.
He's going up himself. But you it's Shabbos already.
And plus, right, and first of
You accepted. You entered the time zone called Shabbos. See, Shabbos, Rivka, according to Kabbalah, always exists.
all, what malach am I doing?
When do you step into the time machine?
I'm not talking about what malach am I doing?
It's a grama. I don't know. I don't think you can do that. For you, it's Shabbos already. You cannot ride up with him. Yes? What?
When does that woman,
Yeah?
that woman who made that declaration, when does she accept Shabbos? She doesn't have to. When
If she makes that declaration, she has the same 18 minutes like her husband has. Or in Jerusalem, it's 40 minutes. If she makes that declaration verbally, she has that extra 40 minutes in Jerusalem.
has to be said, when 18 minutes is in,
She has to say, I'm not accepting Shabbos with this candle. Then she's like her husband. If she doesn't say anything, by her lighting the candle, she's accepting Shabbos but not the husband. Let me carry on over here. So he says over here, Zman adlokas haneros kavu be'esrim minuten. Koydem hashkiah. In most places, he says 20 minutes in New York. He said 18. Jerusalem, it's more. So it's a dova mafursam. Everybody knows that people still have 20 minutes to do malacha after the lighting of the candles. Right? So therefore, there's no problem of Marasai in what I'm doing. But since it upsets you, lady, Yedidi, I'm not going to do it anymore. Wow. 1 second. Yeah.
So what do you do now?
So what does he do now? He has the boys pick him up earlier, right? So he says over here, yeah. Yes?
What happened to me?
Go ahead.
I was going to someone, I lit candles, taking early Shabbat. I got into an elevator in the Wolfson that I thought was the Shabbos.
You thought it was Shabbos elevator.
I got locked in. But then someone eventually opened the door.
Okay.
She came in and she pressed the button. So I had nothing, I didn't ask her.
So it's very good when ladies light the candles, they should make a verbal declaration. I am not accepting Shabbos yet, even though I lit the candles. Then, until Shabbos comes in. Until Shabbos comes in. Jerusalem, you have, I don't want to say 40 minutes. Jerusalem, I don't want to say 40. 35 minutes. But the rest of the country, you have 20 minutes. Right? Right. Right. So if you say it verbally, then if you change your mind, you're safe. right? So you have to say it verbally. So let's getting back over here. I'm not there to the restaurant, right? Yeah? So he says again, even though chas v'sholem it's a kilkul, some ladies like this lady thinks that I'm doing wrong, even though I'm not doing wrong. He says again, b'li neder, shlo elisa od bekar, b'shas ad lo kataneros. I won't do it again. Okay? Even though I'm not doing nothing wrong, because everybody knows that that's 20 minutes in New York. Okay? But it upsets you, I'm not going to do it. Now, the next shaila he deals with, what Tirza mentioned, Orechaim chelik bet simin mem. Listen how he says this. Bedovar imutar lechol berestaurant. Lechol berestaurant shemechinim sham rak macholei chalav. Oh, dairy, like Ratner's on the Lower East Side. Remember Ratner's?
How can I forget?
Ratner's on the Lower, that's why he probably said it. Right? They had delicious onion rolls, right? Ratner's, I'm dating myself. Avod anoshim mechala Shabbat. But Ratner's was open on Shabbos. They're open on Shabbos, Rivka. So he's asked, are you allowed to eat in a restaurant that they eat only machole chalav, but the noshim, people there, the men and the women are mechala Shabbat? And so he says, Av sham ef shalios kama macholat asor is dug into meim. So he says maybe there's a problem. Maybe they serve non-kosher fish like sable. Well, sable's kosher. Sturgeon. Sable's kosher, but sturgeon, right? Big machlokas with sturgeon, right? It's not surgeon. Sturgeon. Shark. Catfish. Catfish. Remember Catfish Hunter? Catfish. Says maybe they serve non-kosher what? Fish. Right? The gamma shumen. And maybe that the oil that they use is made from what? Duck tameh, right? And maybe the cheese that they have is what? Not kosher. Right? And also you have a problem, bishal akum. Even if the ingredients are kosher, if a goy cooked it, Liz, is a problem. V'lechein, afli konesh l'sham. So he paskins, even to enter Ratner's, lechol devarim hayuduim, she'ein behem shim chashash isur, even though you're only going to get in Ratner's what? Kosher rolls or kosher what? Drinks, a kosher coffee? Right? No, Ratner's is only dairy. Afli konesh l'sham, lechol devarim hayuduim. Even known things that are no chashash isur, yesh la'asor b'pnei maris ayin, the chashad. You still cannot go into Ratner's, because there's maris ayin. What's maris ayin? Maybe they're using what? Fish oil from a duck tameh to make your scrambled eggs. And maybe what? And maybe the stuff was cooked on Shabbos. If the stuff is cooked on Shabbos, you can't eat it anyway. Now, so therefore you can't go in there. That's maris ayin. Because maybe you order the catfish. They serve fish. Maybe they serve catfish too. Catfish. Catfish is kosher? No, that's right. So therefore you can't go there. Even though you're ordering a tuna sandwich, they also serve catfish. So maris ayin. You see, you do an act which could be forbidden, even though it's not, but it could be. That's called maris ayin. Now, achim rav biyoter. Let's say you're famished. Rav biyoter. Listen to this great tzaddik. Shemitztayer tuva. You have a lot of tzad. The Ratner's blintzes. Shemitztayer tuva. There's no other place to eat than you're starving for a cheese blintz. You don't want catfish. You just want a cheese blintz. And you're starving. You're allowed to go and eat there. Lecho devorim hayuduim limatorin. Things that you know that are what? Kosher. I maris ayin. The rabbi seemed to contradict himself. Aval tzorech sheyeh betzina. Wait a minute, but you do it on the sly. Sneak out the back, Jack. Sneak around the back. It's amazing. First he said maris ayin afil bechad bechadorim, and now he says if you're famished for that cheese blintz and you're really hungry. 1 minute, you Lower East Side, you can get hungry, right? Waiting for a train a long time, and you're very hungry. The punchline here. So you could go in there and eat if you're very hungry. Only things that you know that are kosher, like a cheese blintz. Avol tzorech sheyeh betzina. Tzina means what? Shh. Quietly sneak in. What about what? Chad ve'chadorim. Listen to the great loophole. B'mokoim tzara Rav Aaron, this is Igros Moshe Orechayim Chelik Bet Simin Mem. We said Sharona that Mara sign is even what? Quietly. And the great rabbi said if you're very hungry, you can go to Ratner's. Tzorachia B'tzina. The mokoim, this is the punchline, Shirley, but mokoim tzara, when a person is b'tzar, and being hungry is yibtzar, but mokoim tzara, loy gazu rabbanon. They don't make it. But maris ayin, great. But if you're in tsar, necham, and being hungry, you have physical tsar, look how the rabbis love the Yidden. If you're in tsar, for that cheese blintz at Ratner's, or a matzah brai, and you're very hungry, the rabbis did not decree. If you don't believe me, says the great Rab, you can look it up in Tractate Subot Daf Samach, that if a person is in physical tsar, then maras ayin what? Goes away, as long as you do it what? Bitsina on the QT. Isn't that incredible? Mickey, we got to go back to the Lower East Side now. You got to go back to the lower... So he seems to contradict it. First he says, you're right, he seems to contradict. First he says, maybe they're using non-kosher what? Oil. And then he says, I don't understand it. You can look up the tshuva. If you know, Achim Rav B'yoter Umitztayer Vein Sham Mokom Acher Lechol Yochel Likonesh L'Sham Lechol Devarim Hayiduim Limitorin. How do you know the cheese blintz is made with kosher oil? You ask the guy. What? And they dated. I also ate there because I was very hungry. I went to yeshiva there. You're right. So this is the great tzaddik had wide shoulders, and he gave a head to eat at Ratner's. There's no other place to eat, and you're hungry. What a great tzaddik, boy. Yeah, mokem tzara legozer rabanan. But only if you know that the dish is kosher, like a cheese blintz. I'm not going to use catfish oil for a cheese blintz. How do I know? It's not part of the ingredients, yes?
He was Crisco.
What? Crisco, what? Of that great tshuva, what? Well, it seems to be a tzaddik. Go ahead. What? Right. Beautiful. It was a gzeirah that the tzibur could not keep. And the rabbis never make a gzeirah, nechama, that the congregation can't keep. The ways of the Torah, derocheo darkei noam. The ways of the Torah, says Mishlei Awat, sweet and pleasant. Yes.
I didn't premise my question on a situation where someone was hungry. My question was, if there's a phone booth in front of the restaurant, inside the front door of the restaurant...
Oh, you're not hungry.
Who uses a phone booth anymore?
Oh. You use your cell phone.
No, I'm talking about a typical situation 10, 20 years ago.
Right.
A tray for restaurant, not even a thought of eating in the restaurant. But there's a phone booth and you have to...
That's a great question. According to this, you're not allowed to. You're not b'tzar. It has to be physical tsar.
Right, so I would think
You cannot. People will accuse you of what? You can't go to McDonald's because people say you got a cheeseburger. So there, it could be Dover Usser. Maybe you're ordering a cheeseburger. Even though God knows you're not ordering a cheeseburger, but people don't, so you can't go in there.
The same can use the bathroom. Use the phone booth, use the bathroom.
No, the bathroom, no. There's another tshuva, thank you.
That could be
Kovet habriya, that's tsar. The Rav says clearly, if you have to use the bathroom, and you're b'tsar, you can use the bathroom. Because b'mokim tsar, when you have to go, when you gotta go, surely when you gotta go, you gotta go. And if you can't go to the bathroom, you have physical pain. You have physical pain. So therefore, to use the bathroom, you can go to a trefa restaurant, because that's to alleviate tsar, but not to buy a Coke or make a phone call. Because there's no tsar there, and people will say you're having a cheeseburger, yes? What?
I think if Superman is not in the telephone booth.
Yeah. Today, where would Clark Kent change? There's no phone booths anymore. Huh? The Man of Steel, he had nowhere to change today. Huh? Yes, Shirley. What? Fire away. What?
Later on, they became some.
Who? Ratners?
Yes, I went in.
When they read this tshuva, they read this.
To the bosses.
Go ahead.
They said, your generation ain't here. Your children's generation are not.
Yeah.
So they had to become, so
They
they
be-
closed down.
And then they closed down.
Closed down.
And they closed down because of Phil Maurice closed.
Phil Maurice. Right. Right. So you go to Shmulka Bernstein's. Shmulka Bernstein's, right? No more, right? Gone with the Wind. I remember the Phil Maurice. Okay. So anyway, this is the key. B'mokim tsara loy gozer abanan. And going to the bathroom, there's physical pain if you can't go, right? And when you're hungry, it's physical pain. So there, the rabbis were not geyser, but he does say it. Do it b'tzina. What? Put on a raincoat and run into Ratner's, right? Very interesting, right? Right. Now, there's a big, speaking about sturgeon, Reb Aaron, sturgeon. Sturgeon's a big controversy because sturgeon, a fish to be kosher needs fins and scales. The sturgeon in the water has scales. When you take it out of the water, it sheds the scales. So there's a big machlokis between the Noide B'Yehuda in the 1700s and all the other poskim. All the other poskim says if it sheds its scales on dry land, it's like it has no scales at all. The Noide B'Yehuda, the super posik of the 1700s, where the Vilna Gaon had a question, you know who he asked? Noide B'Yehuda. He says, what are you talking about? As long as it has scales, even though it sheds the scales, where? On dry land, it has scales, it's a kosher fish. There was a great controversy in the 1700s between the Noide B'Yehuda and all the other poskim, who said, no, if it doesn't have scales on dry land, it's a dak tomei. And he held it's a dak tohor. Now, we know in Judaism, halacha yochid v'rabim, Rabbi Yaakov? Yochid v'rabim, mochik v'rabim. So the majority held that what? That it's dak tamei, because it sheds its scales on dry lands. In the water, the scales don't count. But he held firmly. And his son writes, the Noide B'Yehuda's son writes in a tshuva, that my father, there's a raging controversy. My father had a dream that after he died, he went to Olam Haba in Gan Eden, and all the tzaddikim are eating gefilte fish, and he is served lobster. So, lobster. You hear? So he says to the Malach, why are all the Rebbes getting gefilte fish and I'm getting lobster? So the Malach says, well, you were mater dag tamei. You said that this sturgeon was what? Was kosher, but the other rabbi said it's like a lobster, so you can eat lobster. The rabbi woke up in a fright. Did he change his halacha? No!
Wait, who?
The Noide B'Yehuda did not change his halacha. Because the Rambam paskins, divrei chalomot, lo malim lo meridin. Loi bashemayim hi. Malach, shmalach, lobster, halacha is decided where? Down here on earth. The great rabbi would not yield. So, but the halacha has to follow what? Conservative Judaism in their tshuvas, they paskin like the Noide B'Yehuda. That sturgeon is what? The caviar is what? Mutar. He has very wide shoulders. But Orthodox Jews, we have to follow the majority. Acher rabim lahatot. And the majority says that what? That it's a dak tamei. But it's just amazing that he would not yield. This great rabbi held that he was right, and no dream was going to change his mind, because the Rambam rules that the divrei chalomot have no bearing, and the Torah says, Loi b'shamayim hi. Remember the Gemara in Bava Metzia, page 59? This rabbi said that if I'm right, Rabbi Elazar, right? If I'm right, let God himself testify that I'm right. Now Baskol came out and said, what are you guys arguing with Rabbi Elazar? He's always right. Rabbi Shua gets up and says, excuse me, God. Well, excuse me. Loi b'shamayim hi. The Torah is no longer in heaven. We decide halacha. Isn't that incredible? The rabbis outvoted God. They outvoted him. And the Talmud says, after the incident, one of the rabbis who outvoted God met Eliyahu Hanavi. They said, what was God's reaction? He says, God was chiyech. Nitzchini bonai. Like a proud father. My children have defeated me. I'm proud of them. What do you mean they said they're mashal? God was testing them. Will they cave in? Or will they know that Loi b'shamayim hi? That no longer does God decide halacha, we decide halacha. And the rabbis didn't cave in. They held what they knew was right, because the Torah says, Loi b'shamayim hi, that we decide halacha. God was testing them. They passed the test like a proud father or mother who tests the child, and the child what? Passed? So the Kaviyochel Kodesh Baruch Hu, Nitzchini Bonai, he was proud that my children have defeated me. They passed the test. They would not cave in. But we have to follow the majority. So therefore, even though Rabbi Elazar was right, he was a Yochid. The Noid of Yehuda was right, it doesn't matter. In Judaism, we must follow what? The Rabbim. Who said so? God. Deuteronomy 31. God himself said, Loi b'shamayim hi. I, the heavenly voice. This is only a test, Liz. This is only a test. Right? Don't be fooled by the test. When the going gets tough, tough go shopping. No, the tough get going. Right? Yes.
When he was having the dream and he was having lobster?
Yeah, he didn't eat it. He freaked out. He woke up in a sweat. What are you giving me a lobster for? So the Malach said, well, you were matzah dak tameh, b'vakashah. He didn't change. The son testified he did not change his halacha. God was testing him. This was a test. Even though he was right, we have to follow the majority. Who? The Noid of Yehuda? He could. He could. His son couldn't, I don't think. I don't know if he did. He said, well, it's okay. He could. But the other Jews could not, because we have to follow the majority. That's a good question. But we know majority rules. So I hear what you're saying. Why could he eat? Could he eat the dak tameh? When he was outvoted, he continued to say that he was right. So how could he eat? That's a good question. I'm not sure. You stumped me. Maybe you're right. Achrei rabim lahatot. You have to follow the majority. So how could he eat? So perhaps he didn't eat, but he was just fighting for the truth as he saw it. Like Rabbi Elazar, when he said, halacha is like me, let God testify. He said, even though he was right, in Judaism, majority rules. Yes, Rivka, question? With Ratner's. He doesn't mention by name, but everybody knows what he's talking about, right? Go ahead. Right. On Shabbat. I hear. What? Right. That's right. Unless you have a mashgiach there. Mashgiach tamidi, right? A mashgiach on hands. No. Thank you very much.